Most people that I have talked to have said that they could never do accounting and they could never be a CPA. And I totally get that because girl or boy, you definitely have to be a very specific type of person. Oh, well, look at you. Aren't you looking gorgeous today? I don't think I've ever not only worn my hair in a ponytail in a video before, but I don't think I've ever even worn my hair in a curly ponytail ever in my life. But I feel like being different today, so we're gonna try it. Hopefully you like it because I like it. So we're gonna deal with the curly ponytail in this video today. But this video, I'm gonna be telling you guys the top things I wish I knew before I picked accounting as my major, before I decided to pursue a career in accounting, because there are a lot of misconceptions about the field. So the first thing is that it's not all numbers. And I feel like a lot of people, when they think of accounting, they think, oh, you're just the number crunchers, you're working with numbers all day, all involves math. And while that may be true for the most part, it's definitely a very logical field. I think it's actually more logical than math, to be honest, but that's just my own personal opinion. And then there are other fields, for example, auditing, where it's not as much numbers and it's mostly words. I actually had a professor in college tell me that he did more writing than he ever thought he needed to do as an accountant. So yes, there's a lot of math involved, but there's a lot of logical stuff involved and a lot of writing involved. This kind of ties into the second thing, and that is that accounting is a very, very logical field to study. It involves a lot of thinking through things, memorization, knowing if an amount should be included or not included, and it's not as math intensive. I think a lot of people confuse accountants with actuaries. Actuary is a very math intensive field. With accounting, you only need to know up to Algebra 1, and that's pretty much it. If you know how to add, subtract, divide, multiply, you know how to do equations, then you are pretty much all set. The next thing I wish I knew is that it is not just another math class. I know I've only talked about math so far in this video, but I promise not all the points are all about math or anything. But when I first decided to become an accounting major, I thought, oh, well, I'm good at math. It's probably just another math class with a twist to it. And it is not. Accounting involves a lot of rules and regulations and memorization of those rules and applying those rules. So if you're really good at math and you think that you're going to be good at accounting because you think it's going to be all math, that won't be the case. The next thing I wish I knew is that accounting was much harder than I thought it was going to be. Like I said before, you only really need to know up to Algebra 1 in order to be an accountant and go through all your accounting classes and pass the CPA exams. But the math part isn't the part that's hard. It's about knowing the rules in accounting. It's about sorting all the information, knowing the exceptions to the different GAAP standards or to the tax standards. So I like to think of accounting as really of a memorization class and then applying what you memorize on exams and tests and in the real world. The next thing I wish I knew is that classes are boring. I am not gonna lie, when I took my first accounting class as a sophomore in college, it was the Intro to Financial Accounting. I thought that it was a very, very boring class. And to be honest, after that class, I really wanted to change my major because I felt like,
wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I don't think this is for me.
But I decided to still stick with it because I did really like the concept of accounting. I really wanted to be in a field that involves numbers and logic and business, and accounting was kind of like that perfect combination of both. And although the classes are boring, I kind of just sucked it up and just got through it because
that's what you got to do if you want to be an accountant or CPA.
Although the CPA involves a lot more brain power and studying after you get your degree in accounting. The next thing I wish I knew is that you must have at least a 3.0 or above for your overall GPA and your accounting GPA. I think a lot of people, they really only focus on their overall GPA, and yes, that is very important. However, when you are a junior and senior and you're trying to find an internship or a full-time job, employers will ask you what your accounting GPA is. And if that is below a 3.0, a lot of times they won't even consider you as a candidate for that particular position. Yes, that is harsh, but the reason that they do that is because they want to know if you are competent in your accounting classes to take on the workload at the company. So you really want to make sure that you have at least a 3.0 overall and at least a 3.0 when you take into account only your accounting classes. I think most people, it's fairly easy to get above a 3.0 in your overall GPA, but it's harder to get above a 3.0 in just your accounting classes because, like I said, accounting classes are very difficult. It's one of the hardest majors in the business school. And I know that there are some companies that won't ask you for your accounting major GPA. They'll only ask you for your cumulative GPA. But from what I remember, the internships and jobs that pretty much everyone want to go to, they will ask you for both, and that's how they weed out people that they don't want versus the people that they will give an interview to. And another thing I want to say about GPA is that it only really matters when you first graduate school and maybe for your first or second jobs. After you are further along in your career, your GPA doesn't matter as much, and what matters more is your experience and what you have accomplished in the career instead of what you accomplished in school. So it could be a good or bad thing because if you do really, really good in school, you might have that initial boost to get you that job and internship that you want. The next thing I wish I knew, and this is a big one, and that is that you don't have to work at the Big Four. At my university, I went to a very big public university. The accounting department really pushed people working at the Big Four, and they did tell us that about 80% of people end up working at the Big Four after they graduate, and then about 18% of people end up working at a public accounting firm that isn't the Big Four, and then only 2% of people end up working in private accounting straight out of college. So yes, the Big Four is probably pushed at many accounting students in different universities across the country and the world. The Big Four companies, they always came to our career events, they always came to our universities to hire for internships and full-time jobs. Personally, for me, the Big Four was never my scene. My first job out of college was at a public accounting firm, but I did not work at the Big Four. I just worked at a national public accounting firm. So I was part of that 18% that ended up working in public accounting, but that didn't go into the Big Four. And I think for me, that was the right path because I personally never saw myself working at the Big Four ever. I did interview for a couple positions at the Big Four after I had graduated, but I decided not to go forward with those opportunities because I don't think that was what I wanted to do. I will say that the benefits of working at a Big Four is that you will get a lot of exposure, you will learn a lot, and I have heard that if you can make manager at a Big Four and then you leave public accounting and go into private accounting, that's gonna open up so many opportunities. It will be endless. People say that if you have the Big Four on your resume, it looks the same as if you graduated from a top tier university. So it does help you stand out. So I'm not by any means saying that you shouldn't work at the Big Four. I'm not trying to talk down them at all. Obviously, you do you. Everyone has their own path. But me personally, that just wasn't the path that I wanted to go down. The next thing I wish I knew, and I'm sure every single accounting student / CPA agrees with me, is that you learn more on the job than you do in your classes. So when you're studying accounting in school, you pretty much take all the classes that cover accounting. And then when you graduate, you think,
oh, what I learned in my classes is what I'm going to use when I start working.
And that is not the case. What I learned when I was in my bachelor's and master's program, and even on the CPA exams, is very different than what the workforce in accounting is like. I had to learn how to do a lot of things that I do at work on the job. And I did have another professor in college tell me that when you graduate, companies want you to be a blank slate, meaning they don't want you to carry all of the knowledge that you learned while you were in school. They want you to have a background in that field, but they want you to mostly learn how to perform the job on the job. And with every single accounting position, you will need to learn different skills on the job. I worked in auditing at my first job. I had to learn the skills on the job. I am a senior financial analyst now at my current job, and I had to learn the skills to do my job at this job. And these two fields, while they're both considered accounting and finance, are very different. And I could not apply what I learned at my auditing job to my senior financial analyst job. So just know that if you like accounting, but you don't necessarily like your accounting classes, that will not be what it is like in the real world when you start working. The last thing I wish I knew, and I have told this to many people before, and that is that accounting is not for everyone. Most people that I have talked to have said that they could never do accounting and they could never be a CPA. And I totally get that because girl or boy, you definitely have to be a very specific type of person. And after I took my first accounting class in college, I definitely thought about changing my major because I was that person also who did not think that accounting was for me. I thought about being like a different business major, and although that might have been an okay path for me to go down, I probably would have been very happy in that major and in that career, I don't think it would have meant as much. Because for me, I definitely wanted to be in business. I definitely want to work with numbers. And I definitely want a job where I knew that I could always be able to find a job easily. Accounting is one of those jobs where you can pretty much work anywhere because every single company, government institution, education institution, hospital, you name it. Every single corporation needs an accountant because everybody needs to keep their books straight. Because if your books are not straight, your business is about to go downhill. So the last thing that I want to leave you guys with is that accounting is a very respected field, especially if you go for your CPA. And it's probably going to be a very rocky journey to get through it all. It was a very rocky journey for me. I promise you, if I am someone who can get through it, then you definitely can too. You just got to put in the work and put in the time. All right, guys, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely subscribe, turn on the bell notification, and give this video a thumbs up, and leave me a comment letting me know what your favorite thing about accounting is, and I will talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.